Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I have a Cricut project for you where I'm making our first Christmas cards of the year, and this is going to be a bulk make using this beautiful foiling feature, so I hope you enjoy. I'm going to start off on the actual Cricut design space, and I'm going to talk you through this time, just as a change, my sort of process and thinking of how I design this card. But as always, there will be a design for you to download if you don't want to bother of doing it yourself. Okay, so we're starting off, as I said, in design space, and you'll see here that I had a whole heap of different things that I just put on the mat. I wasn't really sure what I wanted or exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted a card that was small, like a 4x4 card. So the first thing I did was I took a shape, the square, from the shapes section, and then I changed the sizing to make it 4x8, because obviously it's 4 inches tall but 8 inches long, because I'm going to have to fold it. I then realised that my card base is going to be slightly smaller, so I did then reduce that down to 3.75, and then whatever double 3.75 is, because I can't quite remember. So next I went back to the shapes button again, and I took the line and I was creating a score line. However, I later discovered that the score line actually comes first. So you get score line, when you do the actual cutting, you get score line, then it will do the foiling, and then it will do the cutting, which sounds fine. But what you have to do is apply the foil in the middle. You can't unload the mat. So actually what I ended up doing was removing all the score lines, but it's going to be really easy to hand score these, because it's literally going to be scored at 3.75 inches. So it's something that's very standard. I set it up to be a standard width for you, so it's easy to score down the middle. So it's not going to be difficult to do, but I just thought I ought to mention that. So then I went into just the general images section, and I just searched for different things like Christmas, winter, snowflakes, different odds and ends. And the first thing I wanted to do was create a sentiment, because I wanted to write like Merry Christmas or something. And again, I really didn't know at this point what I wanted. I didn't really know how the style or the look of it was. But you can see here what I did was I ticked the draw only section, and then I ticked the bit that says ownership purchase, so that it was only images that I purchased. So if you want to do something similar to this, and you're not sure if you own the same images as I'm using in this, then you could do the same thing as I am and just recreate it yourself. If not, as I said, you've got it on my downloads, and you can download it and it will have it. But obviously any images you don't own that's on that download, you would have to purchase. But there's only like 3 images being used anyway, so it's not a major problem. So the next thing I did was I was searching, as I said, I was looking for some sort of image, and I put Christmas. I'd gone through quite a few things. I'd been searching for quite some time, and you'll see I've got different tags there. I've got some different kind of shapes that are for drawing, and I'm just sitting waiting, because it always seems to take forever for them to download if you've done a few. But you'll see here I've got quite a few different sentiments. I've got some different snowflakey things to try, and just different options really to play around with. And this is how I work a lot of the time, is I pick up a lot of different images and different things, and then I play around with them and see what I like the look of. And that's what I find is the beauty of the design space. And it's kind of how I used to work on the Gypsy. Do you remember the Gypsy? God, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? But it would sort of, when you layered things up, you could still see what was behind. So it was a little bit harder to work it out. And obviously then you'd have to unlayer it, because it wouldn't cut it properly, and it was just like, oh. But anyway, so we're fiddling around here with the sizing. Really basically it's sort of to your preference. I wanted it to be fairly full. I then thought, oh, I'll centre it. Well, that worked well. So I had to adjust that. So I wanted to centre it to actually the middle of the right hand side. So I fiddle around doing that, and then I realised I needed to actually align it centrally, horizontally, I think it is. Oh, I never remember. So we grab it here. So you just basically just take your mouse and grab it and then center it so that it's sitting top to bottom evenly. The left to right you kind of have to do by eye, and that is the advantage of having that line in there at this stage, the fold line, because at least you can see where the central point is and you can actually line it up correctly. But obviously later on I do take that out, so just keep remembering if you are following along. So here you'll see I took another one of the squares and I'm basically making a tag, because once I put that snowflake on, it just occurred to me it looked really cool with that sort of Merry Christmas, just a nice little banner, very simple, just across the center of it. Raise it up, just a very small amount of foam, because again with Christmas cards we're sending a lot, we need to think about postage, and you don't want it not so fat that it costs extra to post. So I don't use too thick a foam, etc. But I wanted it raised a little bit because you need it, just give it a little interest, a little dimension, and you can get a little bit and it's still within the parameters of the postage. Well, it's certainly over here in the UK at least. So I then centered it onto the little tag that I created, and I positioned that tag, I grouped it, positioned it in the center there. Now at the moment we haven't attached any of these images to the actual card, so we will need to do that if we want the Cricut to understand that I want that image on that section of the card. But at the moment I'm just trying to see that I'm happy with how it looks, and then I want to play around with a second version again just to see, do I like it as well, do I like it instead of, again just playing around with the ideas of it and seeing what's working for me. So I thought this little snowman was really cute. I didn't like the Merry Christmas across the center there, but I did want to obviously align him, so I just did that. So aligned him correctly top to bottom, visually left to right, and then I moved my little banner down. And at the moment, just to bear in mind as well, I'm going to be doing this in foiling, but at the moment this is the Cricut thinks this is going to be using a pen, so that's also something we're going to change in due course. But at the moment we're just playing around with how it looks. So then I got the two cards that I was happy with, that I got those two. You saw how I got to that point. I got rid of everything else and I positioned them on the mat there. But now we need to start actually putting them together as foiled elements and specifically attached to that particular piece of card. So what you'll notice here though is that I did it without thinking in gold. It really doesn't matter. The Cricut does not know what piece of foiling colour you're putting down. It could be sky blue pink, it doesn't matter. But later on, because I did silver, I thought that I would change it to silver so that it matched what you saw and it just made sense visually, but it really doesn't matter. And what you saw there was that once I had created the gold banner, I'd attached it, I then just duplicated it rather than redid the whole thing again for the second one. And then again here we're changing that to foiling, and I'm doing it in fine. So we've changed our little snowman to foil. I'm using shift key to pick up just the two elements that I want, which is the card and the snowman, because I didn't want the banner. And then I attached it, and then I sent it to the back, so my little banner was at the front, and then I just grouped it together so that I could move it around and copy and paste it, and then sort of rinse and repeat for the snowflake card. So again, just changed it to foiling, shift to pick up both elements, attach, center back, so we bring our little sentiment tag to the front, and then I will group that together so the whole thing is as one. Then I'm going to group that together, or rather I'm just going to group it, not literally group it using the button, but just group it by capturing it and then duplicate it twice in order to get 6 cards. Now at this point I'm not doing the 12. I want to test out exactly how it sits on the mat, because what I discovered at this point, I haven't quite done the sizing as I said to you in the original. I said to you that I made it 3.75, which is correct in the finished design. However, at this point, I haven't got to the 3.75 because it was only when I tested it onto the mat that I saw that it actually sat with only 2 cards on the mat and then this big gap at the bottom. So then, having adjusted the sizing, and also you can now see that I've changed the colour to the silver, I grouped, or rather captured, the 6 cards and then repeated that to create 12 cards so that we can bulk make these. Now, of course, you can do as many as you want, but now what we'll get is 3 cards on each sheet, which is obviously a lot better from the point of view of wastage, really. And obviously you'll also see that there's space down the side there for our little tags as well, so that's all good. And you can notice that because we've attached our snowflakes, our snowmen, etc. to that card, the Cricut understands that we want that foiling on that specific piece of card as well, and you can check that. So here we have the Cricut foil that I'm using. So I've got the 12 by 12 foil. I've picked up the gold here just to show you really that there is it available in gold. I don't know if they do the larger sizes in colour. I haven't personally seen it, but it may well be. I know that I've seen smaller packs in different colours in the Cricut foiling. I haven't tried other foils yet on the Cricut machine, but if you have any that you know that are good, let me know. I'd love to know in the comments if there's anything you use that you find works really well. So as I said, I removed the line for the scoring off the cards on the design. So now we can put our piece of card on first. Obviously that's already on there. I just used a lovely American Crafts white cardstock. Always find that cuts beautifully, and then took a piece of the foil and some painter's tape. Now at the moment it's just sort of hanging over the edge, but you will need to kind of rip that so that you can pull it off at the mid stage. So you can see here I've kind of ripped it all off just to make sure that I can access it when I need to. So then we just insert that into the machine. You want to make sure that it's relatively tight as best as you can. Obviously make sure you change your blade in inverted commas to the foiling blade, and also make sure you use the right one. It does make a difference, I think. There's the 3 sizes, there's fine, medium and large. I think if you use the wrong size to what has been said in the design, it does seem to make a difference. So definitely make sure you do that correctly, because the first time I tried it I actually used the medium blade, but I told it that it was fine and the sentiments did not come out very cleanly at all, but when I changed over to the fine, came out perfectly. So do make sure you do that. Now obviously I did not unload my mat, and then I changed it to the blade and then pressed the little Cricut head and it cut it. So you can see there, it's really hard in this lighting. You need bright lighting to show you what's going on, but it makes it hard to see the foiling on the white. It just really bounces off the white, but hopefully you can get an idea. The best place is actually to go to my blog post and take a look at the photographs, because the photos are much easier to see what's happening. But you can see here we've got 6 of each card plus our 12 little sentiment tags, and you can see that I haven't obviously got the score lines, but these are going to be really simple to do, and you can see how beautifully that's come out. It's really perfect, and again with the sentiments it's just come out really cleanly. And as I said, the first time when I accidentally used the medium with the when it said fine on the Cricut, it definitely made a difference. So here we are now with the scoreboard, so you can see it's really simple to do, much easier than trying to fiddle about on the Cricut, and you'd have to do this part anyway. So the only extra element really is the actual scoring of the line, because the other part with the folding and the going over it with the score tool, you're going to have to do anyway, whether you put a score line in. So I think this is probably easier than trying to fiddle around with the Cricut, trying to put foil on halfway through. I think it's okay if you were only doing like a small piece in the middle. Obviously you could access the edges easily to try and stick it down, but to try and stick a whole 12 by 12 piece down when it's inside the machine, it's just not going to happen. I actually don't understand why they would do it that way round. It just does not make sense to me to have actually put it in that order. It would make much more sense to do foil, score, cut. So as you saw, I completed scoring and folding all the cards, and now you can see I've got these little strips of foam that I got from Hunky Dory. They come as these little fine strips that of foam. They're kind of, and they're not too thick. I think they're only a couple of mil thick, so they'll nicely go through the post. You can see here they're just literally strips, and I just cut those in half, and one half was just adequate for each piece, so it worked out perfectly. And so I just put those on the back, and then obviously peeled the backing tapes off, ready to go. And then it was nice and simple. We just took each one and popped them on. So obviously for the snowflake, we just popped that across the center, and I liked the fact that it was just white on white. It was very subtle. It didn't sort of really leap at you, but it was just delicate and subtle, but still really elegant, I felt. And giving it that popped up look, it just gave it enough dimension so it didn't disappear into the background. I think if you did it flat onto the card, you would kind of lose that sentiment. Having that slight shadowing because it's popped up just helped it not disappear into the background, I feel. So then, as I said, I did the second one on the snowman, and just to show you the two different ones, and you can see on that one I did it lower down. I just felt that looked better, and then completed all of the rest, and that's all of those ones done, and I think they just look really, really nice. I can't say which one's my favourite. I like them both. They came out really good, and I got some lovely little 4x4 envelopes, and as I said, these are 3 3/4 squares. And there they are, all done. That is our cards for the day. And I'm sorry that it was a bit late. Just got a bit behind last week, so my apologies on that. I hope you've enjoyed our first Christmas cards of the year. I know it's really early for me, isn't it? I know, it's really good. As always with the Cricut cards, I will put the download on my website, and definitely go across to the blog post where you will see links to all the products used, and also photos of the finished product. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.